Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive leadership in college athletics. Today's episode is a replay of an interview from Athletic Director U, where we talked to Deana Barnes, president of Paciolan. Take a listen. Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to Athletic Director U. We're here at the 2024 NACTA Convention. I'm joined by Deana Barnes. Deana is the president at Paciolan. Greetings, Deana. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Hi.
So we're a year in.
Almost a year.
Almost a year.
Yes.
In a year, in a leadership role, you find out what you're really made of, right? In terms of people are coming to you to make the decision as opposed to you're going to people to make suggestions, right?
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that in terms of what you've discovered over there.
It is a much broader responsibility, that's for sure. I've been with Paciolan for over 20 years. So, I've grown into the business. I have been a leader in the business. I was on the senior leadership team. But to your point, there's a difference between being a part of that and then the table turns and they're all looking at you.
Right.
So, yes, it's something I'm growing into. I'm still learning, and it takes time to grow into that.
Yeah.
So, I'm making decisions where decisions need to be made.
Yeah.
But I'm also leaning heavily on the staff that we have.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we make decisions collectively, as a group. And we have the strongest staff in this industry as far as I'm concerned. These are all the same people that I've been working with for a long, long time. So that has not really changed very much.
Yeah.
But yes, it's certainly a more broader responsibility, overseeing more of the company, how the all pieces all fit together. And really feeling responsible for the well-being of everybody that works at Paciolan.
What's interesting is being there 20 years and moving through the ranks and then becoming a leader. What helped you through the ranks were the people around you which helped you to find success, help them to find success. And then you get to a leadership role, and it probably doesn't change that you still lean on the people around you to find success.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, how I grew and how I've grown and how I will continue to grow is 100% about the people that are around you and around me, right? And I feel very grateful for that.
Yeah.
I tell our group all the time, like, what you see is what you get. They know me. I'm not new. I have been in a lot of positions within Paciolan. I've either worked in the role or I've been critically connected to the role or I have led parts of the organization. So everybody in the organization knows me really well. I'm not coming in trying to be something different. I'm really just trying to make sure that we continue doing great things, that I elevate my own self in the way I'm looking at things, and that I'm there to support everybody that is a part of Paciolan.
Yeah. 20 years is enough time to see an organization do whatever they were doing initially to do whatever they're doing now, right? And you talk about growth and data and are we just tickets? No, we're not just tickets. What are we? You know what I mean? You've seen a lot over 20 years.
Yes.
So talk about why that was fascinating when you were approached with the role of leading the organization and deciding that that's something you wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, look, I have so much passion for this company.
Yep.
I have literally grown my career within this company.
Actually.
So to your point, we started when I came in, we were a ticketing company. We connect fundraising to college athletics, which is one of our, competitive advantages, I think, in college.
Yeah.
But for sure, over time, I think we would call ourselves more of a technology company now, right? Data has become the most important element in this industry. With the shift from paper tickets to digital tickets, the pandemic had some silver linings, and one of them was we now have millions of data points that we didn't have before. And what does that do? It turns into more strategic decision-making, more resourcing for people to understand where there are revenue impacts. There's a lot of pressure in college athletics right now. So those data pieces have become critical. But the evolution, I guess, or revolution of us moving from where we used to be when people were printing tickets and you were passing tickets around like this, and now everything's on your phone.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue to grow. AI is coming into this space. We will continue to see even more technology, and Paciolan's evolving with that.
Yeah. There's an aspect of being somebody who probably wanted to always be the number two.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, man, yes.
And now you're in this position, but I do wonder how much, especially in the number two role where you're helping the leader strategize for the future, right? Success right now, we're doing what we need to do to execute right now, but we're also thinking about how we got to prepare for 5 years ago and all the various different types of outcomes that could happen 5 years from now. How much of that are you involved in?
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah?
Yeah, all of it. I still, again, we are a very collective leadership team.
Mm-hmm.
So how we're looking at the business, whether it's Keith White, our Chief Product Officer, innovating us technology-wise, our Christian Lewis, who's our Chief Revenue Officer with, strategic decisions on partnerships and how we're growing our revenue base. Lisa Langham is running our internal operations. We collectively look at the market. The other thing that we do is we lean in with our clients. We have an executive client committee that we meet with a couple times a quarter. These are leaders within the industry that bring to us, what are your challenges? What are you looking at? How are you seeing the next 6 months to 5 years, and how do we need to get ahead of that with you? And then, of course, it's our own advances as well. Like, we're paying attention to what's happening. We know AI is coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I think collectively as a team, we are always thinking about innovation. And if you don't keep up right now, right, you blink and you're going to be behind. So it's really a group sort of way that we move forward.
Yeah. I find that interesting because that's your brain has probably always worked like that as you've been in different positions.
Yeah.
And then you add this leadership thing, and now I have to go out and address the people and be a part of everything else, right?
Yes.
And I just want to focus this and help us be successful. Tell me about, there's a vulnerability in there, right, for someone who always wanted to be at number 2, but now you're a leader. Talk to us a little bit.
I have certainly been more comfortable supporting well, but supporting in the number 2. And I'll be honest, I would have been fine in my career as number 2.
Right.
I've worked for an amazing person in Kim Dameron, who's now leading Learfield Sports Properties, and I have learned everything from her. Mm-hmm. I would have continued to do that and felt very comfortable.
Right.
I don't know that there's a comfort zone in this role.
Wow. Okay.
You really have to push out of that each day. I'm not someone who likes to be on the stage, but I know it comes with a job. Right. And so part of that is, you gotta suck that part up, and you gotta be, a leader and step into it. And I'm willing to do that because I'm passionate about what we do. I'm passionate about the people that we work for and with. And I know that's part of my growth.
Right. Yeah. Which is excellent. We operate in a world. Now, of course, you and I are both college athletics adjacent, right?
Yep.
But we still operate in a world that requires a lot of us and a lot of our time.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, you've done an interview with Stephanie, who is my colleague here with Athletic Director U, and she likes to talk about family and how we deal with these things. When you send a kid off to college, when you have to make big decisions that, are going to affect the family, make the big decisions that may affect your time with the family, like taking on a leadership role, things like that. I wonder how you process those decisions. Like, when is this something I want to do? Is this something we want to do with our daughter? Is this, tell me about that.
I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
I think about the balance between where I get lost in the responsibility of my job. Mm-hmm. And I love my job, right? It is easy to get lost in because there's always something to be thinking about. There's always people to be thinking about. Right. And you really have to be intentional that is not your entire life. Mm-hmm. I have 3 children and a husband who I am so blessed to have, and they're amazing. But you have to make the space. Yeah. You have to. And sometimes it might mean missing a conference like this, right? Sometimes it might mean, my husband and I have to balance a lot of things. We are not both at everything all the time, even though we want to. Like, my son today started football camp for high school. Wow. My husband is with him. Yeah. I said, please drop him off and make sure that he's ready to go, and I'll be here talking to Tai. And that's vice versa. So I'm lucky. I know there are people who don't have the balance of a partner or a spouse, but I think that is most important, is having that team mentality when you're raising your family. And then I try to put stuff down. Sundays are important. I've got a whole new appreciation for Sundays. Just spending time. Walk away, put the phone down, cook some dinner with your family, play with my kids, pay attention, shoot some hoop with my son. My little guy, he's going into first grade, maybe he just wants to color or something. Yeah. So you have to balance those moments, because at the end of the day, if you're full there, you're going to be much fuller in the office and much fuller for everybody you're working with. So You just always have to be intentional and thoughtful because you'll lose yourself for sure.
You have to make sure with intent that is a part of the lens that you're making decisions with throughout your career and home life and everything.
And include them in what we do. It's not really much different than you talk to a lot of ADs, right? They move around a lot, and they have to be at events every night and every weekend. And most of them will say, I incorporate my family within. My kids are on the court, or we're a part of, whatever we're doing for a donor event or something. Our kids understand what I do at Paciolan. They think it's cool, right? They've got swag from all the schools, and when it's college colors day at their school, they got everything on. So I think it's about incorporating them into it as well, so that they know what I'm doing is a great thing, and it's connecting them to something.
Yeah, that's excellent. You said Paciolan kids.
Yeah. They can actually pronounce it too. We
are the Paciolan kids.
Yeah, they are.
A group picture from staff, everybody bringing their kids in. That's hilarious.
They are.
We're both former student athletes.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you find yourself in a position where you got to turn on whatever switch you had to turn on when you were an athlete, right? There were times competing, I had to make myself be aggressive.
Yeah.
Because aggression wasn't necessarily part of my personality. But in football,
it was.
Right? You have to do that. So in football, you have to. And so there were times even in practice, I was a scout teamer, right? I didn't play much. I was walk on, but I still had to almost tell myself, be aggressive. Don't be comfortable in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then now you go into a space that may be uncomfortable. And I got to tell myself, this is that time. Be aggressive.
This is exactly what I do.
Yeah.
It's almost embarrassing to say, but that's how I go. That's how I approach challenges. I approach them with a competitive nature. My comfort zone is narrow, and so when there are times that I am pushed outside of that, that's when I feed into being the student athlete.
Really?
That's when I find the competitive nature. There was no being afraid to get on the court, right? And the other side of me is very much a winner. I love to win. So when I'm challenged, I challenge myself.
Yeah.
And I have been challenged through even this first 9 months in getting outside of my comfort zone a little bit. We had our user conference in February, our PACnet you guys were a part of. That was something I was super proud of. It was the first time with me in this chair, sort of leading through that and being, owning that differently. But yeah, I was nervous, right? 700, 800 people coming in, and they're all looking at me,
you
going,
hey,
you're in charge now, which was great. But the other part of it was like, oh my gosh, they're all going to be looking at me. So I even approached that conference that same way of, it's game time, right? You practice, you think about things, but at the end of the day, you got to get out there and play. And even if you don't play at the highest, you got to get out there and play. So it's funny you say that because it's exactly how I approach most things. Like I said, almost to an embarrassing level at the age that I'm at. But being a student athlete has 100% created characteristics in my life of teamwork and coaching and competitiveness and resilience, all the things that you hear about all the time. It's 100% true.
Yeah, 100%, 1,000% true. And I don't know if you should say it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there are people who weren't competitive and weren't athletes. They don't have that to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So who knows what they rely on when they get into an uncomfortable situation. I mean, they probably have their things they do, but for us, it's like...
It's natural.
I learned this. I practiced this.
Yeah.
Let's go, right?
Yeah.
That's important. I wouldn't say I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, okay,
right?
okay.
You can claim it.
Yeah,
right?
I can claim it.
You can claim it.
I'll tell you we've seen the rise in women's sports.
Yes. What is that?
And man, has it fueled that athlete inside of me. It just takes all the adrenaline that you love about being, an athlete and being in sport. And this past year, I was, telling my husband, leave me alone. It's Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. during the NCAAs. I did not get off the couch, but there's this feeling of all those things come back. And to watch the volleyball, rise, and softball. We just watched the World Series of softball. It was so incredible. All of that comes back. And so watching this rise in women's sports has been extremely exhilarating for me this past year. It's really driven me toward just more passionate about what we do.
I think that's excellent. how do you make sure a leader comes in and they have certain passions, right?
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily want to change the culture if the culture has been great, especially if you learn from the person.
Culture's amazing,
right?
Yes.
But then there are things that are important to you, and people watching you as a leader realize that's important to you. And as you being a good leader becomes important to them too.
Yeah.
So tell me how that aspect of women's sports, is it a rise or is it a rise in popularity? Because women's sports has always been there, right?
Right.
And so tell me how that aspect of your leadership is something that people will see and absorb with you being in the
100%. I think they see it.
Okay.
I think they see how driven I am. They definitely see that I'm competitive. And, you know, that's it's probably something new in this role that, to your point, people maybe didn't see as much before that now they're seeing differently. I think the biggest thing for me is the teamwork aspect.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, collectively looking at how we build, as opposed to me thinking, okay, I need to make these decisions. I need to know what these next things are. I really lean into team, and all of us together, you know, push the ship forward.
Which is excellent. Yeah. I asked the last question and we'll wrap. You were a point guard. Right? And so, I don't know what kind of point guard. You could have been Magic Johnson style passes over your back and all those kind of things, or Chauncey Billups leadership on the court, or Diana Taurasi like Magic Johnson style. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. So there are aspects. Some point guards can see everything and know where everybody is. I wonder if that translates.
It's a great analogy. I've never thought about that. I was a passer.
Okay.
And that's really profound that you say that. That is how I look at things.
Yeah.
And I do try to look out and understand all the points of opportunity. Just talking about it, that's crazy that you say that. It's how I lead. Okay. It really is. So again, tying things back to sport, I was not a scoring point guard. I didn't look to shoot first. It was always to pass and to get the ball to the place that it was going to get into the hoop.
Yep.
And a lot of times I wasn't going to be me.
Yeah.
So I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a reason why we shouldn't be embarrassed by relying on our past, right?
You're right.
This has been an excellent conversation, Deana. I really appreciate you joining us here on Athletic Director.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. That was Deana Barnes. She's a president at Paciolan. And of course, I am Ty Brown with Athletic Director U. And keep in mind, the role of the leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.